Hi friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. I'm sad because I lost all my tomato plants. About 95% of them, so I guess I shouldn't say all, but about 95% of my tomato plants are wiped out and we are less than a month away from planting. So I wanted to let you know what happened so that you can maybe learn from my mistake, and I want to tell you what I'm doing to pivot to get some new tomatoes started fast from seeds so that I don't have to overpay at the garden stores later on this spring. Provide some tips for getting those tomato seedlings up fast in case you run into the same situation. But mostly I just want to share what happened so that you can learn from my mistakes and not make the same mistake yourself. Let's get started. If you would like help planning a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. In case you are new here, we start all of our garden starts from seed, whether direct sown or winter sowing technique. If you haven't checked out that video on the winter sowing method, I will link that in the description box below. It will also be linked on screen at the very end of this video if you're interested in watching that. But it basically involves putting seeds in milk jugs and tossing them outside. One of the absolute biggest rules of winter sowing is to keep an eye on your weather, and if temperatures drop below freezing, you have to cover them if your seeds have sprouted already. Now, the winter sowing method is awesome because you can put seeds out in December or January when you still have a whole month or 2 months or even 3 months of freezing temperatures. It is only once temperatures warm up high enough to sustain growth that those seedlings start sprouting. And once you have a seedling that is, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches tall, if you then have freezing temperatures after that point, you just want to go out and cover your jugs with like a blanket or a sheet. I use like just a really oversized fleece blanket. I did not pay attention to my weather about 2 weeks ago, and I am paying for it. I did not realize that we were going to be dipping down to 29 degrees that night, and I did not go and cover them. In the morning, when I realized how cold it got, I went running out there that morning, and just like I suspected, almost all of the tomatoes were gone. So I'm going to show you what the inside of the jug looks like, because I waited about a week before I called it quits, because I thought maybe by chance they might be able to bounce back. And I guess, like I said, I lost 95% of them, so I guess 5% of them did bounce back. So it's not like a immediate thing. You want to give them a few days to see if they'll bounce back. But like I said, I've given them a week and they have not bounced back. These are just weeds. Let me pull those out real quick so they don't confuse you. Okay, big beef. You can see my little tag there, big beef. And you can see just the really sad brown squigglies. Those were beautiful 2-inch tomato seedlings that are now just nothingness. And all of my tomato seeds are like that, 95% of them. So it is the 3rd week of March. Like I said, we are less than a month away of getting seedlings in the ground, which means I don't want to start over with the winter sowing method at this point because it is just really warm. You can do the winter sowing method in the spring sowing, but there's just some different things, some caveats that you got to watch out for. We're not going to go into that in this video, but I just wanted to get the seedlings started as absolutely fast as possible since I am in this situation. So I have not started seeds indoors for years because I absolutely love the winter sowing method. But because this happened, I am starting seeds indoors to get myself caught up, and I wanted to show you a very cheap, very frugal way to get seeds started indoors if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, or if it's, if you're in the same boat where you're only a month and a half away from planting, it's not too late to go ahead and grow from seed. So when I say that I did this in a pinch, I mean I did this in a pinch. What I'm about to show you is not the perfect setup. It is not professional grow lights. I don't have professional seed trays and heat mats and LED, multi-spectrum color grow lights. None of that. It is just in a pinch here's what you can do to still get some plants that you grew from seed in the ground this year, even at this late hour. Okay, let me go show you my little setup in there. So here is the setup. Basically what it consists of is a heating pad, which you can see the blue peeking out from there, red solo cups, and a shop light. And this is, please excuse the dirty floor and the Legos. This is my craft room and Lego room and school room and all the things room. So you can see this table that it's attached to, like I said, totally in a pinch. And I just have this table here, that's where it's located underneath the table. I tied a string around the tabletop, and then I put the shop lights attached those shop lights to to that string right there. So about this shop light, this light is from Walmart, and it is just, like I said, a shop light. It's just meant for lighting up like a work area or a shed or something like that. It doesn't have full spectrum light. It doesn't have all of those different shades of UVA or UV, you know, whatever they are. And it's fine. I have sprouted seeds like this before I discovered the winter sowing method. And it works. If you want to get to the point where you are growing from seed and you don't want to use the winter sowing method, then I do recommend like a more professional setup, because if you're going to be doing this long term, you really, really want to do it right. This is low cost, in a pinch. Something has happened and you're having to start over, you know, really close to planting season. This is what you can do in a pinch to get you through. So I have tomatoes. I went ahead and started some peppers too, because I did lose some peppers. I can't remember, I don't think I mentioned that, but I lost peppers too, but not all of the peppers. So I'm starting both tomatoes and peppers, and because of that, tomatoes and peppers really need warm soil. So I have my heating pad under here, and basically twice a day I'm putting it on medium. I'm just hitting this button and pushing it twice and putting it on medium. And my heating pad has an automatic shut off where it shuts off if it's been on for an hour. So I don't even worry about coming back in here and turning it off. I just turning it on, let it heat up for 2 hours a day. I would have to do it more if it was chilly, but it's not. I've got this super bright sunny window right here, and this room stays fairly warm whenever the temperature warms up outside because of that huge window right next to this area. So that takes care of the heat. Let me talk about how to prep your cups and why am I not using seed trays. So the reason why I'm not using seed trays is because I don't have time to be up potting them multiple times. And when I say I don't have time, I don't mean like, oh, I'm super busy, I don't have time to do that. What I mean is I'm less than a month away from putting it in the ground. So I want the seed containers that I put my seeds in to be the only container they grow in. And for that to be the case, I needed deeper soil and more nutritious soil, meaning I didn't use seed starting mix. This is just my regular soil that I purchased to amend my soil with from a local man here in town who just has excellent soil. So this is not seed starting mix, excuse me. This is basically raised bed soil is what it would be, as if you were to buy it in the store. It would be equivalent to raised bed soil, because I need something to feed these seedlings all the way until they go into the ground, and not just for, you know, 2 weeks until it's time to put them in the next size pot. So prepping these cups, you need to, I'm not going to tilt the cup, but you need to poke holes in the bottom of the cup. So I did that all, you know, all those. Soaked the soil down before I planted, and then another thing that's different is I put 3 seeds per cup. And this is because I don't have a ton of space. Like it's underneath this desk here because it has to be. There is nowhere in my house to be storing seeds, and I needed about 40 plants, and there's just no way that I could you know, make that happen with only 1 seed per cup. So one note about that, if you look up, you know, how to seed start, you generally only want to do 1 seed per pod. However, I have found the reason why is because a lot of plants, especially our summer food crops, don't like their roots being messed with. And it's easy to tear the roots and break them when you're having to tear them apart if you plant more than 1 seed in each pod. But I have found, and this is just personal experience, that roots are a lot hardier than some people give them credit for. And I have not had an issue of pulling apart seedlings. Even in my winter sown milk jugs, I will sow 6 to 8 seeds per milk jug. And I have to basically tear those roots apart every time I go to plant them. I've been doing it for years. And I'm gentle. I try to do it gently, but I do have to tear the roots apart, and they have been just fine. So I am doing high density. This would be considered like high density seed starting, and I'm not concerned about it at all. Each of these cups have 3 seeds in them, and I will just be careful when I go to transplant them, just trying to wiggle my fingers through that soil, wiggle my fingers through the roots, and gently pull them apart, and it should be just fine. The next thing I want to talk about is the distance between the light and the seedlings. So we talked about the heat. The other thing seeds need is light, obviously, and of course water and soil and all that, but we've covered all that. The distance from the top of the bottom of the light to the top of the seeds is really, really important. You want it to be only a few inches from the top, and I could actually stand to have this even lower. In fact, I'll probably come down and lower it down just a little bit when I'm done with this video, and have the light like only about 3 inches from the top of the seedlings. And as the seedlings grow, then lift it. And that's why if you're going to be doing this, it's important to get some sort of adjustable shop light. You see that chain? That makes this light adjustable. I can easily loop that hook through the chain and make this light any length that I need it to be. But the reason why you want the light to be so close to the seeds, especially in the beginning, is because you don't want the seeds to get leggy. Number one, leggy means they are stretching so far trying to reach the light, and it creates weak seedlings. When you have the light a lot closer, they're not having to reach as far up to the light, and they're not shooting up really fast before they really had time to shoot their roots way down. So you want to start them off low for that reason, but also number 2 reason is just because you are getting a higher concentration of light when it's closer. And since we are so close to planting, I need this to happen as quickly as possible, which is why I'm using the heat mat. You don't absolutely have to use the heat mat. You can absolutely sprout tomatoes without a heat mat. But again, I am just doing everything I can to speed up this process, get it done as fast as possible since we are less than a month away from planting, which is why I'm doing the heat mat, and I'm going to be putting my light down as absolutely close as possible. Now, as these seeds grow up, I will then, lift the light so that they don't touch. We don't ever want the seedling to touch the light, but I will just slowly lift those up. Another thing to note is that these tomato seedlings, there's just absolutely no way that they are going to be the normal size for transplanting, which is like a minimum of 6 inches. But I have had winter sown seedlings in milk jugs only be 3 inches before, and I planted them anyway, and they did just fine. They are going to take a little bit longer to mature, but I have a long growing season, so that's not a concern for me. Whoops, sorry, I hit my camera. But if you have a shorter growing season, then you'll just need to be a little bit more on the ball with planning and watching your temperatures than I was this year. Oh, I'm kicking myself for making that mistake, but it happens. And plan B, got to pivot, and this is me pivoting. So I just wanted to bring y'all along and give y'all some tips for how you can maybe salvage your growing season if you still want to grow from seed, even this late in the game. Okay, y'all, hope that was helpful, and I will pop the video somewhere right around there for the how to winter sow in milk jugs if you are interested in checking it out. We will see you next time. Bye.